Is this lead important?
This lead is not important anymore thanks to the battery-powered magic of our recording device.
Well done, batteries.
Well, shout out to batteries. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 8 of the Tables, Lads and Chairs podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ray Hewson, no nickname today, joined by the resident wallflower and maritime expert, Steph Hughes.
Hey, how's it going?
Very nice.
I'm short.
Very nice. And the timekeeper himself, Mr. Scott Fitzgerald.
Hi, glad to be here.
Who was on time today?
On time, actually ahead of time. We were late today. Apologies, Scott.
No problem.
That was bad. Anyway, this week's show is centered around and topic based on... What is it based on?
We're based on WrestleMania 23 and the greatest underdog stories ever told.
It's not based on WrestleMania 23. It's based on WrestleMania 32. It's just timed well with that. You're absolutely right. But it is based on the underdog stories, the ones that really won us over and got into our hearts and made it all nice for us.
Those David versus Goliath. Those David versus Goliath tales, yeah.
Die Goliath. That's a Welsh wrestler's
I
name.
can't even remember David and Goliath. So
It was so long ago, I just can't remember
Goliath's the big guy who gets beaten by David, who has a
stone in a sling?
Stone in a sling.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, as we mentioned, WrestleMania 32, right around the corner. We're in what they call WrestleMania weekend, ready for the granddaddy of them all, the showcase of the Immortals. There's other nicknames as well, which just exaggerate how stupid the event is. But I'm quite excited. Steph, you seem to be quite revved up for it.
I am. I just saw the Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura match. I said that word really fast because I can't pronounce it.
Shinsuke, or Shinsuke as they call it.
That guy. And that was one of the best matches I've seen in ages, so I'm actually really pumped for it now.
We're pumped. Scott, how are you feeling?
I haven't seen an event in ages, but I did used to like wrestling back in the day. I think I'd just let your guys' enthusiasm kind of carry me along, and I'd probably enjoy it.
So yeah, I haven't seen one in 10 years. I'm quite excited. I'm going to watch it live. It starts at midnight, Sunday night. So that's going to be a drag, considering I'm already sleep deprived, and it's going to get even worse.
So yeah, definitely looking forward to the WrestleMania event. Haven't watched one in years, but would be quite down for this one.
WrestleMania 13 is terrible. And so it's number 12.
he's like and 8
and 4
and 7
and 6. They're the ones.
Which is the one in the Roman Colosseum?
Oh, and 9.
That's 9, is it?
That's number 9. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I don't even know that.
With JR in a
Togo shirt. Yeah.
I think there's a stigma around wrestling a little bit. People liking it.
It's got links to like a soap opera, hasn't it? So it's a lot very story based. So it's basically like a drama as much as it is a sport.
Well, it's not a sport. I mean, like
sports entertainment.
Sport,
right?
yeah.
Entertainment,
The term is it sports entertainment, which kind of covers a lot of bases. It's
safe.
Yeah,
Safe.
it's a safe topic.
It's not true.
That's sad times. Gents, I'm getting word from the news van.
Okay, well, what's coming through on the news van, right?
I'm hearing lots of noise, lots of chatter.
Okay,
I'm going to pass it straight through to our man in the van.
Okay, live
Steph
feed coming
Hughes.
through.
My news this week is, well, it's been raging for about 2 weeks now, and I still find it hysterical and funny. AC/DC's Brian Johnson has actually lost his hearing. He's going to go deaf if he continues to play with AC/DC, which is sad and devastating. But this week they reckon Axl Rose is going to be the new AC/DC singer, and I can't even say it without laughing. It's a very depressing thought.
Axl Rose is the new AC/DC frontman.
He's one of the favourites to take over for the rest of this tour, which will probably be their last tour, I can imagine, because Malcolm Young's got Alzheimer's and Phil Rudd's in jail for murder.
I do quite like a lot of the old 80s metal, like Skid Row and Guns N' Roses. I don't mind it.
I feel like jumping into the role of the front man for a band is difficult.
It's a big call, yeah.
For AC/DC, it's easy because every one of their songs sounds the same.
Yeah.
Very similar melody. But
normally, wasn't it the one I really think of was the Iron Man soundtrack? And I think the first scene kicked off with an AC/DC track, you know?
It helped. It helped, definitely. It helped the film, and it helped them sort of... They put a new album out like straight after that as well.
Yeah.
Which is all right.
The problem is that Axl Rose, since the 80s, has become basically a recluse, and in the last 20 years has just become a fucking lunatic.
They're all looking a bit rough, aren't they? All those 80s icons, you know? They've either gone overboard on the drugs, or they've given up on the drugs, so they're all like losing their hair, bloated. They just look rough, you know.
Well, Axl Rose looks like Keith Lemon, so
yeah.
Just saying, he's not going to look good in the front man.
No,
he's not. And if you've even heard of a Guns N' Roses show in the last 10 years at least, Guns N' Roses haven't been on time for a show in so long. Like they always start like at least an hour late for their time slot.
He's definitely got the reputation as being a bit of a diva or a bit of a prima donna.
I don't think it would work just because he's a handful.
He's the Axl Rose show, isn't it? It's all about him.
Are 60 years old. Do they want really like a 45-year-old child running around with them? Probably older than that. I can't remember.
I can imagine being quite a bit older. So, considering their timekeeping skills, are they the favourite band of Scott Fitzgerald?
Timekeeping, I like a fashionably late entrance. I feel it adds a little bit of extra. It adds a little bit of extra gravitas, you know?
We're talking about Guns N' Roses. Are you a fan of Guns N' Roses?
I like the early stuff, yeah.
The early stuff.
Was it Appetite for Destruction?
No, November Rain for you.
Not a fan of the ballads, really.
No singing in a church on a cliff somewhere.
More the early Sunset Strip stuff, like, was okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But then I do like a lot of that's like Alice Cooper, Skid Row. You know, I kind of like that stuff.
When I was younger, I actually sort of circumvented Guns N' Roses. I mean, my stepdad, he tried to sort of get me into it, and it didn't really apply to me until a little game called GTA San Andreas came out, and it almost forced me to listen to Guns N' Roses, and I love them because of it.
Yeah.
There was a trailer which had it in there, and I think flying a jet through the Nevada desert whilst listening to Guns N' Roses is just beautiful.
It's a good call, yeah. It was horrific. It's horrific.
Do you want to see Spider Pig, Ray?
I don't know. What's going on?
I kept it away from you because I didn't think you want to see it.
It's a pig crossed with a spider. It's horrible.
No,
I don't want to see it.
He doesn't want to see it.
I tried to protect you. I was just like, he doesn't want to see that stuff.
You were so busy thinking about whether you could, you didn't really question whether or not you should.
Whether or not you should.
Jeff Goldblum saying, "Oh, Jeff."
What's They both fight over that woman, don't they? Dr. Sadler.
Yeah,
Dr. Sadler.
Because I feel like Sam Neill's character's already laid claim to that. I feel like he's already put his flag in that, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, Jeff Goldblum comes along in his leather jacket, and he sleazes in.
Did you?
He never wins though. Never wins.
Did you ever play that Jurassic Park game, Project Genesis, where you build your own Jurassic Park? But basically, on that game, right, you used to have to like send diggers out to get the fossils, and they would find the amber, and they'd get the DNA from the amber.
Oh god.
Weird. They'd get the DNA from the amber, and then you'd be able to build the dinosaurs for your park. So it'd be like a new attraction. It was really funny. You used to get emails through from the different researchers, and they'd come through, and it'd be like, the animals are sick, and then like your animals would be wandering around the park all ill, like coughing and sneezing and stuff, right? And then like Dr. Sadler, the woman, she'd come through and be like, "You have to do something now. Your animals, they're dying."
I can imagine this being a game nowadays with microtransactions being a sort of
it'd be heavy.
Farmville, Payday, that sort of bullshit.
Please pay £2.50 for the Velociraptor. Yeah,
exactly.
Just give us that dollar, you know.
Yeah, well, there's a funny video on YouTube from a game, Jurassic Park: Lost World. When you complete it, you are presented with a video of Jeff Goldblum on a beach in
Yeah.
a white shirt, okay? And he does the whole, congratulations, on completing that. And then it's a case of, now go outside. Go. Telling you to go, like, live your life and stop playing video games. It's hilarious.
For me, you know the
Jeff
lead.
Goldblum in Speedos.
No, he's
For
fully
some
dressed.
reason I can only picture him in Speedos.
You can only picture him in
And
speed.
it's
Is
not
that
a
because of the
nice image.
fly? Is that because he's in speedos and the fly? Yeah, on Jurassic Park, you know the lead researcher is Dr. Wu, the slightly Asian guy. Yeah, slightly Asian guy. Well, yeah.
I feel like games are going through a similar system to what movies are, where they're getting rebooted,
Yeah,
and you are seeing like Crash Bandicoot. I've been told it's being remade again
yeah.
for PS4, and a lot of the PS4 titles now are remakes, just HD up-res games. Which
There's definitely like a cycle, isn't there? Things do come back. Like, you know, Pokemon at some point is due a return. You know, it's only a matter of time.
it never went away for some people.
Yeah.
There's a community out there.
Yeah, people. I can just imagine someone just lovingly flicking through a glossy book of all their cards. You know, just soon we will. Soon we were gaining power.
I don't know. I think those cards. There's so many like different kinds of Pokemon leagues now that those initial cards, like the cards from my childhood at least, are like obsolete. It's up there with Yu-Gi-Oh, and Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. So,
Right.
it's
Back
WrestleMania
on track.
weekend. We are a small podcast, a humble podcast, an underdog, if you will. And with the theme of this podcast being underdogs, I want to take us into the main event, the best underdog stories. And Scott, I think you went first last time, so I'm not going to ask it of you this time.
Okay.
Resident Wallflower, on the other hand, will have to give us his story.
How's it going?
I'm not introducing you to the show. I'm introducing you to the...
So,
the title, by the way, currently no one has it.
it brings an extra, you know, urgency to the table. It's officially on. Let's get it on.
Steph Hughes, what do you have for us
Right.
today?
My favorite underdog story is Rocky. All four Rockies.
Adrian.
That's just making fun of a disabled man.
He's not disabled.
He's got stroke face.
He won a championship. I've won a championship.
Yeah, that's a good
Twice.
point. The man himself has been through adversity, isn't he? You know, Sylvester Stallone. Was he born with the stroke, or
Yeah, it's not called. It's not called a stroke face. It's
Oh.
like he was born with a stroke.
it
What
technically
happened?
was a stroke, Steph? Is
Sly
it-
Stallone was young. Bill Goldberg came along, kicked him in the head.
Oh,
And he had a stroke.
and Bret Hart sued.
Keeping us on a wrestling team.
Right, I can't remember why. He was born like that anyway. It's not called stroke face.
I didn't say stroke. I said a stroke. I was
I
technical.
don't think he was born having a stroke either. He was born the way he looks, okay?
Okay, so Rocky, the story of...
So anyway, Rocky, the true underdog story.
Smack Talk.
Because that's how it's like subtitled, a true underdog story. Because it is. I don't actually know if I'm going to do just the first Rocky film or like all the Rocky films.
I feel like they all count as a single arc
They're
for him.
all-
For me, they all kind of merge into one long film.
20 montages just interlaced together.
It's a great song. Rocky, the true underdog story. Probably you already know the story of Rocky. He's basically just basically a prize fight boxer. Boxes like the locals. For like small rewards, maybe $200 a night or $200 a match. And Apollo Creed, who is the world champion at the minute, he is like the best fighter. He's probably the best fighter in the franchise, to be honest with you. And it's coming up towards Thanksgiving, and Apollo Creed, who sort of understands
I thought it was
angles.
Sorry, carry on.
You've seen Helen Kever's image in the slate.
I got news from the news.
Oh, we got some chatter coming through on the waves. Let's
It's like when people see Christ in toast.
Yeah.
Local man sees Helen Keller on
Coaster.
Slate.
it's like on the 6th page of the Sun. Man saw vision of his dead mother in baked beans. You know, it's just like...
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
You turn it upside down as well to be like, looks even more like
She's
she's
talking to me.
Oh, dear Lord,
Oh
gentlemen.
my god.
So, right, the Rocky movies.
So yeah, anyway, it's coming up for like Thanksgiving, and Apollo sort of understands media publicity and all that. Understands that he can get a big fight if he truly does fight an underdog. Apollo Creed, he referenced it himself. He's a black man, and he chooses to fight a white man.
The Italian stallion who he chooses.
The Italian stallion. He referenced it in the film. He goes, and they go, is it weird that, a white man's fighting a black man? He goes, is it weird that a black man's fighting a white man? It makes no difference. So that's basically how the fight comes together. Apollo basically goes looking for, a decent fighter. Apollo even builds it up as an underdog story that this guy from the gutter essentially is going to be fighting the world champion for a match. The match's not really expected to go very far. He chooses his underdog, who's not really expected to go maybe 2-3 rounds with Apollo, get knocked out, have a bit of publicity, make a bit of money off it, and that'll be the end of Rocky Balboa. But you get into Rocky's story and you realize, especially when you ask Paulie to train him, you realize that Rocky Balboa himself is actually he's a really good boxer himself. He's got a lot of fight, but he's always just wasted it. So when the fight actually comes between Rocky and Apollo Creed, you sort of just see Rocky building up for that, training up and everything, and you truly get emotionally attached to him because he's just a normal, humble guy who, he has a girlfriend who he gets pregnant straight away. She does. Poor Adrian.
Who he meets in a pet shop store.
By his random animals. And it just builds up this, and you just see him, at the beginning of this film, this loan shark who's finally just having this one fight against Apollo Creed, the best boxer in the world, and the fight's not expected to go anywhere. And Rocky, Rocky doesn't win, he gets his fucking ass kicked, but he stays until the end. He goes all 12 rounds with Apollo. And at the end, even Apollo Creed's just there'll be no rematch. And Rocky doesn't care because Rocky's gone the distance, and that's all that matters.
They're both hospitalized as well, aren't they?
Both hospitalized. They're both really cut up. And in itself, that's the underdog story of just this guy from the gutter who goes, not expect to do anything, but genuinely goes the distance with Apollo Creed.
There's that element that he's like a man of the people as well, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's set in Philadelphia, and he's running through the streets. He's high fiving
he's
people.
yeah,
it's
go,
buddy.
That's even more seen in Rocky 2, where the public are going, the fight was rigged. Rocky should have won. And it all again builds to this massive main event fight again, where it's going to be Rocky versus Apollo Creed. This time, the stakes are always upped because it's Hollywood. But it's actually upped in a good way. His wife, she's giving birth, I think. Or is she ill? Or did she give birth and die? I can't remember it. What?
Sorry.
She goes into a coma.
I'm sorry. Giving birth and dying is not funny.
She sort of gives birth, but she goes into a coma. And Rocky's just building up again, and you get the feeling that the world's against him yet again, but the world's against him, the elements are against him, but the people are with him, and that in its essence is a true underdog story. When it's very British in a way that the world and the odds may be stacked against you, but as long as you got the will of the people, yada yada yada, you can still win, and that's basically what Rocky 2 is just the combination of this fight between the people's champion and the world's champion, where Rocky actually beats Apollo Creed in, I think, the 12th round again.
Well, the Rocky franchise is a seminal series of films that have sort of popularized two things. Number one is punching hanging meat.
Oh, yeah.
Made it big. Okay. The other seems to be singing around a burnt out oil can.
Shoo-ba-doo.
Oh, yeah.
Do-do-do-do, shoo-ba-doo.
Those films are so good because there's so many little things, especially in the early ones, that are just so memorable. Just thinking about it now make me want to go home and watch Rocky 1 again.
It's a great film. It really is.
That first Rocky film is one of my favorite films.
The Rocky film, he kind of references a lot of real stuff in it. So
the Rocky film.
Basically, Sylvester Stallone. It was either John Travolta or Sylvester Stallone, and in their personal career, then they were living in an apartment and they were washing their clothes in the shower and stuff, and that's where Sylvester Stallone's really grungy apartment comes from, and he's just making ends meet type of thing, and the the character of Rocky then, I think I was chatting to you about this earlier, Steph, was actually based on a character called a boxer called the Bayonne Bleeder, who faced Muhammad Ali. So it's an actual fight where he knocked Muhammad Ali to the canvas and actually went the distance with him. So yeah, it was actually based on reality then. But yeah, I think a really good choice for underdog. Like it's very motivational.
Very motivational. You can choose any Rocky film. Probably the biggest underdog film of all of them is Rocky 4, where he takes on Ivan Drago. Ivan Drago kills Apollo Creed at the beginning of it.
And Hulk Hogan.
Thunderlips is in that as well, isn't he?
Thunderlips.
Thunderlips.
The ultimate male.
Oh my god. I forgot about Hogan in that.
Hulk Hogan, yeah.
Thunderlips. So yeah, Thunderlips is in that as well. But like, that's probably the ultimate one because Rocky really goes into it seeking revenge. It's different in the kind of underdog way where he's just seeking revenge for his friend. He's just gone in there. He hasn't told Adrian, hasn't told his child. But the fight takes place in Russia itself. And, at least in, some of the early Rocky, like in Rocky 3, everyone hates Clubber Lang, so he's there as the people's champion. In Rocky 4, he's there in spirit as, the American champion. But those Russians are dead set against him.
They're spying on him the whole time. Yeah. Every exercise he does, there's a machine that can do it for Dolph Lundgren a bit better. It's
almost,
a great montage.
Almost like the KGB. I feel we're retracing last week's Cold War theme.
But they're there, sitting there in I think it was like a Merc, and they're just watching him.
Yeah.
And great.
And Hearts of Fire is blasting.
But they earn. Do you know in classic narrative way he earns their respect. So he's like, yes, people. Strong American.
If you can change, and I can change. We all can change.
Let's not take motivational speeches from a man who's been punched in the face multiple times.
Yeah,
it's not the best way to live a life.
Really uplifting. Really, really a true underdog story. Even though it is Hollywood, but that's what Hollywood is really, and it's one of the best, I think. Anyway.
Okay, a fairly good knockout blow from Steph there. Ray, what have we got for underdog this week?
Sticking with a wrestling theme, I'm going for, in my opinion, the ultimate underdog. If we're going to add a title to our little choices here, I'm going to go with Zach Gowen. Now, Zach Gowen is a young man who was at a very young age diagnosed with cancer, and circumstances caused him to have one of his legs amputated. And the young boy's dream about being a wrestler just in tatters, the idea. But still trained, still became one, still became a very entertaining one as well. Not just from a comic value almost, but as a one-legged man in the ring, incredible, doing moonsaults and various amazing acrobatics that I couldn't do as a two-legged man. As two-legged, man is a stretch. But he was great in the ring, and I mean he had some really fun matches against Brock Lesnar, for example, which was a horrible thing to be put through. But he was an underdog in many ways, not just because of his obvious disability. He was also quite a skinny young guy, and in the WWE at that time, that was a death sentence. To not fit Vince McMahon's mold of the muscular bodybuilder type, you were doomed. But being a fan favourite and just being the people's choice, he was kept there for quite a while. In 2003, this was when he was in his 20s, and he was not liked by Vince McMahon at all.
I like you say, it doesn't fit the company look, and that probably worries him. I think the fans really get behind people like that. Like, if you look away, they kind of rallied around like Daniel Bryan when he wasn't like the company man, but he was there's that nature of like the people's champ, isn't it, or the people's superstar. And they definitely get behind the quirkier gimmicks or the people who are genuine, and that's quite nice to see.
Well, there were two other choices I was going to pick. One of them would have been Daniel Bryan in WrestleMania 30. The other was the Mighty Ducks. It's a great film.
Bit of a early Emilio Estevez in
Oh
there.
my god, the
I-
other Sheen brother.
I have
Yes,
to
he
admit, I've got a very soft spot for the Mighty Ducks.
Everyone
You know,
has one for the Mighty Ducks. Sure.
But I didn't want to have too much of the movie theme there with what Steph had going on. But yeah, Zach Gowen, like his matches to watch are really entertaining, and the guy, you don't forget that he's missing a leg, but you don't see his disability because the things he can do in the ring are incredible. And the guy's got a lot of heart and all of those other cliche things that you'd say about a guy who has beaten adversity like that. And yeah, I think he still wrestles now, but he was in TNA for a while. He's been around the block a bit, but a real surprise talent, and I guaranteed Hall of Famer. He will be in the Hall of Fame at some point.
Here's a question: did he get much offense on Lesnar?
Not really. I think it ended via DQ.
Yeah, I can just imagine Lesnar just like tensing up and just be like, suplex.
It was before the whole Suplex City thing. It's before he left to try
Yeah.
and pursue a career in American football, which failed,
Yeah,
and then became an MMA fighter and just destroyed everyone.
yeah,
Before all that happened,
legitimately scary. But
the true underdog, Brock Lesnar.
yeah, true.
No, Zach Gowen, really entertaining. I urge anyone who listens to watch 5 minutes just of a YouTube clip of him wrestling. It's incredible.
I've never I must have been doing something at the time, but I will definitely look.
Typical timekeeper fashion.
Yes, yeah, not always the most.
Wrestling's on. Better make some tea.
But I'll look him up, and obviously quite interesting.
It's difficult, especially to win it with people not being able to see him, but it's an incredible story. Like, there's more to it. There's a lot more. I mean, if you read the stories about it and the abuse he got from Vince McMahon, being made to sort of fight these bigger guys quite often, and he actually fought Vince McMahon a couple of times in the ring, and Vince liked belittling him.
Me and you have got a common link with our topics this week, right? And I'll link back to that in a little while.
If it's Hulk Hogan running the show now, he's like looking at Len like, oh.
No, it might be something to do leg related, but we'll get back to that one.
All right, no worries. But yeah, that's my pick there, Zach Gowen.
Okay.
Incredible. Just need to watch it.
Yeah.
Just to see it to believe it. It's a spectacle.
So two
Not
really,
a freak show, but a spectacle of
yeah.
of sports entertainment.
So underdogs this week. I didn't go with something sport related, completely different. Basically, as my underdog story, then I chose basically the British pilots. Then, so Battle of Britain. After Battle of Dunkirk, the British Expeditionary Force got pushed completely out of France and basically had to go back to the UK. And at that time, the German army was right on the doorsteps of Britain. Basically, from the 10th of July 1940, it was looking as if Germany was going to invade the UK and take over. And basically, a really small group of British pilots had to go up against a massive group of trained German pilots who were like veterans. And it's that kind of plucky British spirit, like a very small amount.
Gumption.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And you kind of get those ideas of like people in the bomber jackets, in deck chairs, and like running to the planes and all that type of thing. So basically, they used to have the Spitfires and the planes all lined up ready for duty. And they basically just used to sit out and wait for call. So when the alarm came, they used to just get up for whatever they were doing.
Drinking tea, probably.
Drinking tea, eating sandwiches.
Playing dominoes.
Listening to the radio. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Whatever was the entertainment of 1940, really. Pre-internet, pre-mobile phones. But basically, so 15th of September 1940, there was a pivotal battle then, which the RAF won. Which basically halted Hitler's invasion of the UK, which was called Operation Sea Lion. So a very small group against a huge group of enemy pilots then basically won the day. And one particular pilot called Douglas Bader had 21 confirmed kills and was actually a paraplegic, so he had no legs. So that's the because when he was training, he crashed his plane and lost both his legs, but he still became one of Britain's, I think probably Britain's most awarded and like top pilot.
best KD in British Army history.
Yeah, if we're going down a Call of Duty line, then yeah. So Battle of Britain. We'd probably be speaking German now if it wasn't for it.
That's my bold claim. Bold claim.
Bold claim.
Anything about that, Steph, you want to say?
We have the English channel.
That keeps us all speaking English.
That keeps us speaking English.
But
never mind. Go on.
If the German army had invaded in 1940, they'd have been pretty much Dad's army to stop them. You know, they were at that point we had no there wasn't. We'd just been absolutely battered in Dunkirk, and there wasn't really much that we had to stop them. So basically, they stopped them.
I don't know. We had a very strong navy, and we had the English Channel, which has successfully stopped us being invaded for over 1,000 years.
Not after Dunkirk, though.
I really want to make
during those
a Photoshop of just Steph and the English Channel with like love hearts.
hold on. I forgot that we were talking about the maritime expert. Thankfully, Steph, this happens in the sky. It's to do with planes. We're talking aeronautics.
You can't invade a country from the sky.
Technically paratroops, but
tell that to aliens.
You can't have enough paratroops to invade a country come from the sky. Like even when we took back
Starship
France,
Troopers.
Even when we came back from France, we went to the beaches of Normandy.
Yeah,
you know, with big U-boats. We didn't take them from the sky. No, I'm not disputing the importance of the RAF.
And particularly, what's the name of the pilot again?
Oh, Douglas Bader.
Douglas Bader.
Like,
yeah, okay.
I'm not disputing that at all. At all. Like,
so basically, lost his legs in training. Went on to be Britain's most lauded pilot with like the biggest amount of enemy kills.
Just gonna put it out there. Disability, kind of his own fault.
Put it this way: he wasn't getting in the ring and taking on the Beast, Brock Lesnar.
The Beast incarnate.
But he was taking on the Beast of the Luftwaffe.
I was going to say, what you do have to remember is that time that the RAF isn't what the RAF now is now. In this time period, at least, the Germans have built up a massive Luftwaffe, a fantastic air force, which, you know, and really at the time Britain was building. I'm playing with my sock. That's what I'm doing.
Oh, is that a
that special sock?
So you finish.
Whenever he talks about the English Channel, he brings it out.
When he's nervous, he likes to play with his socks.
Jimmy the Twitch.
That'd be so awkward when I got nervous. Just me sitting down, just like.
Okay then.
So, right, yeah,
very patriotic there, Scott. Enjoyable.
Yeah, I think it's like I say. I think if we hadn't won the Battle of Britain, I do think that we would probably be speaking German right now. It'd be like the man from what's that new series? Man from
Uncle.
No.
Oh, the time travel thing.
Man
the
from
alternate universe?
Hightower, is it?
Yeah.
Where the Germans and the Japanese won. Yeah, and we're just kind of living in
interesting
the
alternate
world.
universe.
I think it's.
So we have our candidates for the main event. Bit of a mixed bag there. Go from Rocky to one-legged wrestler to the Battle of Britain.
It's
very different type of underdog.
It's a very mixed bag. You know, that's just the variety that we're offering on the TLC podcast. We're offering up so much, you know, that who can complain
for our dear listeners, free of charge, I might add.
Yeah,
on SoundCloud and Facebook and our website as well.
Subscribe and tell us what you think.
So, gentlemen, a winner for the main event. What are we thinking?
Ray, who'd you pick?
I just posed the question, Steph.
Scott, who'd you think?
I'm gonna go with the one-legged wrestler, just because I think it sounds so implausible. I had no idea. I had no idea he existed. That it was a thing. I'm definitely gonna look it up. And all power to him. I think it was. He followed his dreams, and yeah, that's a true representation of an underdog story.
He is an underdog.
Any man who steps in the ring with Brock Lesnar, I tip my hat to him.
What he would often do is
he'd come down with like his prosthetic leg and he'd walk down and then take it off as he got to the ring apron.
Yeah, it looked really cool actually, and it became less of a gimmick. And I would, like I said before, you wouldn't necessarily forget it, but you would accept it. It's just part of who he is, you know. Incredible athlete, though, considering, again, he's not the most built of wrestlers. And although you're not going to see this as a listener, I'm going to show a picture to...
That's my vote. Steph, who are you going with this week?
I don't know.
Apathy on the TLC podcast.
Okay, while
I'm
Steph
gonna
is
go
thinking,
with-
right, who are you going to go with this week?
Sorry.
Well, as a Brit and as someone who's not a fan of the Nazi regime, I will go with. I know, bold statement here. I'm going to go with the Battle of Britain myself.
Yeah, good choice. You know, support the home nation.
I feel dirty voting for myself again, so I don't want to.
Yeah, every film seems to have the Nazis as the baddies, so we'll make them the baddies for this particular episode.
foreigner.
Ever seen Triumph of the Will?
The propaganda movie.
Yeah.
Not all the way through, but no, what you mean.
the way through.
I found myself agreeing, and then I was like, "It's enough now."
Right. So
The vote comes down to
you decide
Steph Hughes, and immediately it's
a little bit
moment.
close.
Yeah.
You can't really argue with the Brits, can you? The Brits, the Blitz. Oh, what's wrong with me today? Hell,
Staring at the little flick in his beard
my thinking strand.
on the side.
Is it? I need to cut that off. I saw it in the mirror earlier, and I was like, "That needs to go."
I think
now.
so. We're going with Battle of Britain, is
I'm
it?
gonna go with Britain.
So, a good question to pose to you, right? If you were in that time, would you have been Army, Air Force, or Navy?
I'm not gonna validate
I would have
that,
been little
absolutely.
Timmy picking up scrap. Good work, Timmy.
I don't even think I need to answer that. I think it speaks for itself.
I can see you behind the wheel of a great frigate, Steph, cruising the waves of the ocean.
Very nice, very nice. So, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. The TLC champion, Scott Fitzgerald. Second time he's won it now.
Okay,
And
good to be back.
as champion, Scott, I'd like you to walk us into the homestead that is Celeb Sanctuary.
Okay, it's good to get back to Celeb Sanctuary. We've been away now for a little bit over a week.
Yeah, I've heard good things from there. I do believe that Ethan Hawke has began a cabbage patch, so he's been busy.
In the woods and picking it up after himself.
Well, let's just check in with Ethan, see what's been happening on the sanctuary this week. There's been notes that he's been foraging for some berries, some wild nuts, and working on one of the log cabins for the new entry this week. Just doing a little bit of maintenance. He's really made it his own. He's been there the whole week, no interruptions. No outside interference. He's hung his phone up before he's entered, and probably ready for a new entry. So no better time than to announce this week's potential new member to the sanctuary, Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage, I'm a fan of Big Nick.
Good,
We've spoken about him quite a few times on the show already.
Ethan Hawke left Nick Cage enough room to construct a giant wicker man.
There'll be no sacrificing going on in the sanctuary, Steph.
It's a happy place for them to go.
It's think of it like Yellowstone Park. It's a pleasant wilderness where they can be free of any problems and stress free.
Maybe it's a good time to talk about Nicolas Cage's faux pas, shall we say? Maybe in his movie career, things that have derailed him and sort of caused him to end up here in the Celeb Sanctuary.
Well, it's been a very varied filmography, isn't it? He's had highs, he's had lows.
Mostly lows.
Yeah,
I think
in the 90s,
let's.
he blagged his talent well enough in the 90s to get good parts.
I think let's start with the highs. I mean, he was a kind of an unsuspected action star of the late 90s. You had Con Air, you had The Rock, Face Off, kind of the big three, I would have said. And then he did some smaller art house films like Leaving Las Vegas, which he actually won the Oscar for. And if you watch that film, he's genuinely amazing in it. Like, he is a really good acting force in that. But you wonder how much of it is that he was playing an alcoholic and that he was actually method acting. That he was like, you know what? I'm playing an alcoholic. I'm just going to hit the booze. You know?
I heard that Daniel Day-Lewis likes to get into a role.
So, yeah, there was some definite high points to his career. I think probably hand off to one of you guys to maybe talk about some of the lows.
Oh, thank you. Thank you there, champ. So, yeah, I mean, as you come into the new year, you have Gone in 60 Seconds, which was still an enjoyable film.
Millennium.
What did I say?
Millennium. New Year.
New Year, you're right. Sorry, New Millennium. Shut up, Steph. Whatever. I'm tired, all right?
I have to admit, I'd forgotten about it, but I really like Gone in 60 Seconds. I think it's a really good watch.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, he had his good films, but you would notice the distance between them increasing. Then you'll have films coming between them, such as Ghost Rider, with the CGI abs. And it was awful.
It got a little bit patchy, didn't it? Definitely got patchy.
I mean, they were great CGI abs, don't get me wrong, but they looked really weird.
Yeah.
And yeah, that kind of happened. People forgave him for it. Then he was back for the pseudo reboot, Ghost Rider 2. Well, it wasn't Ghost Rider 2, it was just Ghost Rider Spirit of Vengeance.
That's the one where he spits bullets, isn't it? Like,
yeah, and the piss is fire. And
they're having fun with it. Let's just put it that way. They're having a lot of fun.
A Mad Max mesh with Idris Elba in it. Again, not a great film, but then he did a lot of other ones. Bad Lieutenant. You mentioned on Drive Angry. Oh, God, yeah. So much hammy acting in it, and just
they were going along the lines of Drive Angry that it's so bad it was good, and you watched it and you were like, no, it's just so bad it's bad.
Under the sort of moniker of Grindhouse,
yeah.
which makes it okay and justifies its existence, which it does not.
No.
Because I think Drive Angry came out at the same time as the Kurt Russell film, Bulletproof or Death Proof.
I think around about the same time. Yeah.
They were very much, I feel like Nicolas Cage's one was the asylum version. The B-movie version of it. Just an awful film. He drove his way out of hell to save his daughter from some fate. It's just an awful film.
It's not good. No. Probably avoid that one.
As we've mentioned his history in the past with his wife taking him to the cleaners and having to cause him to take up every job he can get in the acting business.
I feel for the guy. Like he got hammered by his wife, got sued to hell, and had to hand over the estate. You know,
the many castles.
You can imagine him like, oh, honey, not the bike, and she's like,
the bike.
I'm taking the bike, and
the bike first.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, I got that when I was just starting out. It's like, please, like him getting down on all fours, and she'd just be like, no, I'm taking the bike.
I don't think he does take a souvenir from every film.
Yeah.
Like, he still has those big magnetic boots from Face Off.
The one thing about him is he's a huge comic book fan, isn't it? He actually had a big collection of comic books, and his wife made him sell off a lot of those original issues. I think he had a Superman 1. I swear that was something I read. I mean, we did speak about Skid Row. On the lead singer of Skid Row is a massive comic book collector as well.
It's a massive Nicolas Cage fan.
He could be a Nicolas Cage mark. Might have the full filmography on DVD.
If we're going to talk about Nick Cage and Superman,
Superman Lives,
are we going to talk about the greatest film never made?
I feel we have thoroughly covered Batman and Superman last week.
No, it's a Superman Lives, mate. This is different.
This was the Tim Burton written Superman, was it?
Yeah, where Nicolas Cage as Superman
That would be so strange to see.
somehow forms a relationship with Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
Way.
Oh my God!
Turns up.
Can you imagine in an alternate universe where you had a Michael Keaton versus Nicolas Cage's Superman?
There's a big height difference there because Michael Keaton was one of the shortest Batmen.
Yeah,
as I saw in a recent graph.
Another guy with not CGI abs, but let's just say practical effect abs on his suit. They were not his. They were all the suits.
That's true. So yeah, Nicolas Cage, for all his sins, he's being inducted into the celeb sanctuary.
Yeah, I think. It's almost got to the point now where he just does not care what film he does. As long as it's got a nice fat paycheck, as long as it's paying off those alimony bills from his wife and, keeping the numerous kids going through college, he's happy. So I think we need to do him a favour, give him some time out, give him some time to think about past choices and where he's going now. And what better place to do that than the lovely greenery of the celeb sanctuary. Ethan Hawke's in there waiting, the newly appointed park ranger. He's got a nice cowboy hat, and he's been issued the relevant tools and things that he needs.
Ethan Hawke's been in a Western before, hasn't he?
Um,
I do believe I've seen him in a Western.
I
Or
think
just shooting him in your dreams in a gun battle.
Repeatedly. Just,
Ray,
I always draw first.
if he hasn't, then I think there might be something along the lines of that in the future.
So if Nick Cage comes into the Celeb Sanctuary, is this me forgiving him for Wicker Man?
That's up to you, Steph. You know.
I forgive you, Nick. It's not your fault.
So I think we're opening the gates and we're letting Nick Cage walk through. So that's another celeb into the sanctuary.
Agreed.
Do we clap them as they go in?
I don't think we need to. It's almost a somber occasion. I mean, we know he'll emerge a beautiful butterfly.
Yeah,
The cocoon of the Celeb Sanctuary will help him to develop and evolve.
just some quiet time away. You know, he won't know himself when he comes out.
He'll be whittling and doing various tasks around the farm in the Celeb Sanctuary. He's laughing.
Just
building a Wicker Man.
well, there's a numerous amount of crafts that they can do.
Oh my God.
One of the cabins is full of activities.
I do believe I saw crochet in the official
Yeah.
manual, which was very exciting.
And
I can
in the
imagine
brochure.
Nick Cage is going in there with his acoustic guitar.
If we speak to Ethan Hawke, who knows? Maybe he can whip up a swing seat for the front of the
Just
cabin.
a love seat. Just
Yeah.
both.
But you know, Ethan Hawke was a trailblazer. He was a pathfinder. He's now scouted out most of the park, and he is set the scene for next week and the weeks to follow.
Just to confirm, Ethan Hawke in a film Magnificent Seven, which was this year, 2016. So that's where I've seen him. I've seen a screenshot of him in a Western.
He's a beautiful man.
Thank you for the Celeb Sanctuary update there.
I feel like we need to find a safe place for Helen Keller.
I want to tell a brief story. Now, last week on our show, we debuted a brand new theme song, intro and outro, made by Lee Shears. And to honour said man, we created a segment for him called the Lee Shears Wonder Years. That was to honour him and to sort of a thank you for what he did. He went and one-upped us with a brand new jingle for the Lee Shears Wonder Years. So let's get straight into it, gents. Okay, listener, if you didn't know, this is Lee Shears Wonder Years, where we take a film from now or the past, and we move it into a different decade, and we recast it with a cast of our choice, and we see how it goes, and then we also maybe do a little Photoshop to see what they'd look like, which we post on the Facebook wall, which will be available after you listen to this podcast. So, gentlemen, what do we have?
I think Steph was talking about the Hunger Games, wasn't it? That's recently just finished its what is it? Quadrilogy?
Finally.
It's finished its cycle.
I had to think then. I thought it was trilogy,
Probably
quadrilogy.
be rebooted in about 2 years, but that's the way things go. So yeah, what decade are we going? So going off of the Hunger Games anyway, specifically probably the first Hunger Games, because there was a lot of characters in it towards the end. So
I
if we
probably
just do
feel that the
first-
majority of people have seen the first one
Yeah.
now, but probably haven't seen the subsequent ones. So it's
Yeah.
most people know the Hunger Games.
Right, so the main
So let's keep it
characters in at least the first Hunger Games is her herself,
Katniss Everdeen.
Katniss Everdeen,
Jennifer
played
Lawrence.
by Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
You've got
Gale.
Liam Hemsworth,
Liam Hemsworth.
the brother to the
Very- very-
much-known Chris.
Very much a small role in
Small
that
role
film.
in that
Yeah.
one, in it that much.
You got the guy who plays
The gay emo child. What's his name?
Peter. I'm googling
Petra,
it. Peter Malark. Josh Hutchinson. He once auditioned for Spider-Man.
Right.
There's an actual video of him doing a little. So if we do this in the 90s, a decade which is fondly remembered.
Are we doing the full cast? So you also had Donald Sutherland as the
President Snow. And
President
there was,
Snow.
Hamish, and I can't remember who Hamish is done
He's
by.
Woody
Woody
Harrelson.
Harrelson.
Is that Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson?
I feel
Woody
if
Harrelson.
I think if you're casting it, you have to have President Snow and you have to have Hamish. It's kind of like they have to be in there somewhere.
Well, when we briefly mentioned the film earlier, one of you guys said Jennifer Aniston.
Oh God, right.
It was actually our executive producer, Danny Crane.
God.
Say hi, God.
She would have been at the height of her Friends career at that point. Like so, yeah, I could see that. Maybe a little bit old,
Maybe
but
too old, yeah.
it probably could be. Who was the girl out of Batman? The one with the bat nipples? Alicia Silverstone.
Yeah, what happened to her?
She would have been an option.
I said earlier maybe Natalie Portman, because she'd have just come out of Leon, but maybe she's still been a bit young.
Natalie Portman. Yeah, she would have been a definite runner.
Or Winona Ryder.
I can actually see Natalie Portman in like the
Halle Berry, why not?
Winona Ryder. She's in f***ing everything.
Winona Ryder. I'm really struggling to just think of teen actresses from the 90s.
It's what I mean. I think with Ghostbusters, it was a lot easier. It was a simple snap to who they could be. Maybe it's because we're not really fans of Hunger Games. We don't really understand the characters in the same way.
What were like the teen movies of the 90s? So you had things like, oh God.
Well, if we're going Scream, then I've got to have Skeet Ulrich in the Liam Hemsworth role.
I think it's changing times. I mean, it's quite interesting to note that in the 90s, they would have had older actresses playing teens, whereas now they're confident enough to cast teens in the same roles.
True.
Do you think that's a true statement?
No, I think that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I think they didn't really trust the younger actresses in the same roles, and you were just led to believe if they said, okay, this character's 16, you had to accept that.
Because
even though you know she's 35.
Because if you think about Scream, which was
as the official term is, as we found out.
So Scream, which is both like a cult horror and a teen film, had like people like Nev Campbell and other people in it, and they were a lot older. Well, the whole cast of Scream was like in their 30s at the time, and they're meant to be playing like 19-year-olds or 20-year-olds. So in that respect, I think we should probably go with Jennifer Aniston. I think we should probably go, just run with it.
She was a product of her time.
Yeah.
And I feel like, she's the obvious role. Because
I can see her in the photo array. I can see it already.
I mean, I feel like Jennifer Lawrence was quite big before she got into the role as well. But yeah, she's the same way they were established when they went into the roles.
A little bit silent there. Are you happy to lock Jennifer Aniston into the contract?
Have to do it like that?
Gesturing
Is that
the thrust.
Is that how we lock
The
things?
fact that they share a first name, is that too close for comfort? Or Steph's currently doing a little bit of episode research here, looking at teen actresses of the 90s.
No,
Brittany Murphy, is it, Steph?
I'm looking at Alison Lohman, who was in Drag Me to Hell.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if we are sticking with Jennifer Aniston, I think we should do a similar theme with the rest of them.
Yeah.
And
Matt
because
LeBlanc.
you've got Josh Hutcherson, replaced by the guy from Halloween H2O, Josh Hartnett.
Yeah.
I think you're gonna say.
So we've locked Jennifer Aniston into the role.
Jennifer Aniston, and I think Josh Hartnett would make sense.
Josh Hartnett for Peter.
Yeah. He always looks like he's crying. It's really strange.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I really like that. I'm going to go with
it.
that.
Makes sense for the whiny character he's meant to play as well.
Steph?
And then you'll have Skeet Ulrich in the role of Liam Hemsworth, who's the love interest who never really gets
I'm going to go with that.
In the first film. Who's going to be a villain? You got Donald Sutherland. Bear in mind, Donald Sutherland was still quite old in the 90s.
I'm going to leave.
I'm going to play the role.
I'm going to maybe say someone like Richard Harris kind of thing. Kind of old, kind of forgotten about.
I thought you meant Ed Harris. That would also be quite cool.
Oh God,
coming out of The Rock and going into that. The Rock gets mentioned a lot on this show.
Offer me coffee.
Be fine.
Morgan Freeman as Hamish.
Okay.
Right. I don't know, because Hamish he's a battle-worn guy. I don't know if Morgan Freeman's necessarily a fighter.
He was the Saracen in
I was about to make the same reference.
He's the Saracen in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I'll have you know, he had a giant sword and cut people in two. Oh, what about Harrison Ford for President Snow?
Far too young.
He played a good villain.
Rutger Hauer.
Rutger Hauer for President Snow.
Ultimate villain.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going with that. Lock it in. So Rutger Hauer, we'll go with that. And for Hamish,
Matt LeBlanc. For fuck's sake.
It all comes back to Hamish.
Should we cast Lenny Kravitz's character as well while we're at it? Lenny Kravitz as Lenny Kravitz. Macy Gray as Lenny Kravitz.
What about Keanu Reeves? as Hamish
No.
In the 90s?
in the 90s.
Ooh.
I reckon-
Late 90s, mind.
The other guy from Bill and Ted, the blonde one, possibly.
Alex Winter.
Alex de Winter. Yeah.
Alex de Winter, yeah?
I reckon Daniel Day-Lewis could do it. Even
As
in the
He could do
90s.
anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go Daniel Day-Lewis as
You know
Hamish, because he's so 90s, he could just do anything.
Shall we just cast Daniel Day-Lewis in every one of them?
Yeah, I like that. It's a good one. So
Okay.
right, so let's just do a summary. For the 90s version of the Hunger Games, we have Jennifer Lawrence in the lead role.
Jennifer Aniston.
Oh,
Failed already.
sorry, it was easy to fail.
She'd have been like 8.
Right, in the lead role, we have Jennifer Aniston in the
Yeah.
lead role.
You have Josh Hartnett playing Peter. Makes sense. Probably wearing some sort of choker, as he always did at the time. Very, very fashionable.
Oh, we could have had Kiefer Sutherland.
Skeet Ulrich as the
Could have had Kiefer Sutherland.
Keith Sutherland as bloody Hamish.
Kiefer Sutherland. That's a
Yeah.
good call. Who did we have before?
I don't know.
Oh, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Should we turn to our editor in chief? Who's not
I
the
think
editor in
Kiefer
chief?
Sutherland's a strong choice.
Kiefer Sutherland.
He's very 90s as well.
We'll keep Daniel Day-Lewis for another week.
Yeah.
He's always got a place.
He will work in any show.
I don't know why, but
Put
I'm
him in-
thinking of him
reach
Celeb
out to Alien
Factory.
and put him into the Sigourney
So
Weaver
it's
show.
like they need him there.
We can get the whole of the Sutherland family into this.
The man's one.
I think if Daniel Day-Lewis was in Celeb Factory, he'd try and muscle in on Ethan Hawke's Ranger shit. Like he'd be like,
This place
mate,
needs bears.
that
I'm
hat.
exactly a bear
He'd
for
be
6
like,
months.
mate, that hat's a little big for you. It's just like, you see, it fits perfectly.
Okay, so
Daniel Day, what are you doing? I'm pretending to be a park
Okay.
ranger. Why?
Right,
I'm
so
gonna
we-
have to Photoshop this twisted film onto our Facebook page for everyone to see. But that was the Leishiers Wonder Years, and yet again another thanks to Mr. Leishiers, whose name has been said more than any other on this show by now.
Plenty of variety in this week's episode. There's a lot of bang for your buck there if you were actually paying for it.
No one should be paying for this. In fact, if you've paid for this, immediately get a refund. You should not.
Fun fact for the day, the word penguin is a Welsh word. Do you know how? If you combine the word pen,
White.
which is head, and gwyn, which is white, you get whitehead.
But they don't have white heads all the time.
Well, I would assume the first penguin that we ever sorted, and it was a Welshman that named him.
And looked at it and just went, oh, look, it's a white head.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a Twitter page, we have a Facebook page, we have SoundCloud, we're on iTunes. Feel free to subscribe to us, maybe give us a review. We're doing really well on SoundCloud right now, actually. 50 listens in the last episode, which for us is really good. Obviously, over 300 listens in total, which is incredible. Thank you for the support.
Thank you.
But feel free to chat with us on Facebook, on our page. We try to be as active as possible. And clearly after this episode, there'll be quite a few Photoshops going up. So, ladies and gentlemen, that has been episode 8 of the Tables, Ladders, Chairs podcast. I'm glad you stayed with us throughout the whole thing.
Well done, well done, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. Yes, the one listener. Friend of the show. Definitely. So, we're ending with Scott Fitzgerald as the TLC champion.
Flying off in the Spitfire of victory.
Staying off Jolly Foreigner.
Spitfire of victory.
I've been one of your hosts, Ray Hewson.
I've been another one of your hosts, Scott Fitz.
I've been Steph. And I'm still short.
Very short.
You're still Steph.
It's the Olympics this year.
Yeah.
I remember when the Olympics started, I watched the opening ceremony and I was in Europe the whole time the Olympics was on. It's like I avoided it all.
Everyone becomes an expert in the smaller sports, don't they?
I know
Like
football about anything.
you learn so much about curling in a very small space of time. Oh, well, that's Winter Olympics, but still, it is Winter Olympics, isn't it? But you still learn quite a bit about these more obscure ones. And they were fighting to keep wrestling on topic here in the Olympics. Kurt Angle was actually really heavily involved because they were trying to take wrestling out of it. The amateur wrestling, the real kind.
That's really weird
ridiculous,
because we
dude.
had ping pong in our Olympics.
And equestrian.
Equestrian is a sport.
Can my horse stand still? Yes.
That's a
Can it trot? Yes.
Yes.
Hey, let's
Well, medal for
horse.
you.
Hey, it's horse whispering. That's a sport.
But luckily, wrestling was kept in there because Kurt Angle was fighting for it
How
tooth
about
and nail.
horse wrestling?
What
Keep
horse
them
wrestling?
both relevant.
Equestrian wrestling. I'd watch
They
that.
should do that. They should just mix all three sports together. So you have wrestling, equestrian, and like, what's the one with the blade?
Fencing.
Fencing, and you have to fence on horseback.
Equestrian wrestler fencing.
For equestrian, let's go.
That just sounds violent and dangerous.
I like it.
Ronnie Corbett died.
I know, that's really sad.
That sucks.
He's old though.
Yeah, he's in his 80s. The Ronnies are back together again, if you believe in some sort of
Weird after.
place afterlife. Yeah.
Unless one of them went to hell.
It's possible. Maybe there was a child molestation case that's going to crop
Oh,
up.
dark territory right there.
I'm gonna shut up.
Ronnie Corbett is too small, I reckon.
Hmm?
He's 5 foot. I reckon Ronnie Corbett is too small.
He is a hero for Steph.
What? Because I'm short.
The man's a legend.
At the end of the year, there's going to be the weirdest montage with David Bowie's heroes. It's just going to be the strangest collection of people.
Fair enough. Right, okay.
Do you think all my idols are short people?
Yep. Daniel Bryan, short.
For f***'s sake.
5'3".
I think they are as well. Apparently.
No, 5'8", sorry,
Lee
5'8".
Britain, 5'5". Oh my god.
There you are, see what I mean? I'm sure Lee Trundle isn't that tall.
Lee Trundle's not that tall either.
Fair enough.
Oh, I hate short people.